The first thing that we're going to be talking to you guys about is calories in versus calories out. You probably heard that saying, you probably heard calorie deficit, and you might sort of get it that you need to eat a bit less and move a bit more, but we really want to break that down so you've got that full understanding as to what that is. So if we talk about the calories in side of things first, that is purely the foods that you are eating. And this is why we get you to track calories for a short while. Now, calorie tracking, we want to reiterate, is not forever. And it should not be seen as something that you are going to do for the rest of your life. But there are definitely benefits of doing it short term and benefits of doing it if you do want to see quicker results. So do you guys want to expand on maybe why it's beneficial to track calories for a short while and maybe why it's better for getting results quicker?
Yeah, so with calorie tracking, it really helps to build up your knowledge around what you're actually consuming because for pretty much everyone, even people that now have amazing knowledge around nutrition, in the beginning, nobody really knows what they're consuming, the amounts of calories that are in things. And 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a lot more calories in things than you expect there to be. So this tracking calories just helps give you that knowledge. And then further down the line, as Lucy says, it's not forever. Eventually you will have that knowledge to be able to eat without having to track everything, but still have a good understanding of roughly if you're at maintenance, if you're in a calorie deficit.
So. And in terms of the accuracy side, that was a big word, accuracy side of things, Leanne, why is tracking more accurate than just eyeballing or using something like a Slimming World approach? Like what does it allow us to do in terms of creating a deficit?
It just provides that level of accuracy, doesn't it? Everything weighs different. So I always use a bowl of cereal as a great example. So if you got someone to pour out a bowl of cereal of what they thought was a normal portion and then actually like pour out what, the box says is a recommended portion, they are completely different. So yeah, it's just providing that level of accuracy more than anything.
Go and do that as homework. You'll be really sad. Yeah. You'll be really sad.
I've done that once just to see, and I literally poured at least 3 times the amount.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing about calorie tracking that's really beneficial is it's a stopgap. So it creates a pause for you to actually think about what you're eating and be more mindful of your choices rather than just eating on autopilot, which is what a lot of people do. You have to stop and think, okay, do I actually want this? And, is this worth it for how many calories I need right now? So it's not forever, but for getting you towards your goal quicker when it comes to fat loss and learning, it's so beneficial. Now, that's the calories inside of things. When it comes to us helping you measure calories out and control that to get to your goal, there's 4 components of that. It's not just, people think it's just exercise, just burning calories through moving your body, but there's actually a lot more to it. So the first thing is your BMR, and that's your basal metabolic rate. And that's what burns the most calories out of anything else. And that is just your body doing its thing, sustaining its normal functions, your heart beating, just all your lungs, your vital organs, your menstrual cycle working, everything there. And the heavier your body weight is, the bigger your BMR will be, which means that as you drop body fat, your BMR will decrease, which is why you will find that maybe at the start of a diet, you can eat X amount of calories and 6 months in, that drops. Or someone who is heavier than you is eating more but losing weight, and that's why. But then you've got 3 other components. So we can kind of control that, but it's more just to have an awareness of that and not feel bad if, well, I'm 6 months in and I'm not doing anything different. It's like your body's different and that's okay. But with the other 3 things, we can control those, and that's what we're going to support you with. So the first thing is, the next biggest thing is your NEAT. So Laura, do you want to take that one as to what NEAT is? How do we control it? How does it impact your fat loss?
Yeah, so your NEAT is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and that basically means any form of movement that you're doing throughout the day that isn't planned exercise. So it's not planned workouts, it's not planned cardio or anything like that. It's simple movements that you're doing each day. So I'm sitting here talking, I move my hands.
This is neat.
When I explain this to clients, if I'm on a call with them, I'll tell them, when I'm in a bigger calorie deficit, I probably don't do that as much because you don't realize the amount of energy it uses to, sit and move your hands when you speak. I move my hands a lot when I speak, but when I'm further in a calorie deficit, I don't do it as much because it is taking that energy from me.
Yeah.
And I think an important thing to remember as well is that covers probably over 90% of the calories that you burn throughout the day will be through your NEAT rather than your planned exercise.
Well, compared to those two, yeah. Like if you actually look at it as like, if you look at it as a pie chart of these 4 things, your BMR is like the biggest chunk. Then the next biggest chunk is your knee, absolutely. And you bang on there. And the thing is, your body's really smart and it always wants to save energy. It's a bit like what we all want to do in this day and age. We want to save energy. So like Laura said, when you are deeper into a deficit and you have less energy available because you are intaking less, it's like, right, where do I save this energy? And it's going to make you move less consciously, which is where that's why we set your steps goal, because then you have a conscious way of keeping that NEAT high. But then the other side of it is the exercise. And we're not saying that exercise isn't important when it comes to calorie deficit and contributes, but it's probably not as impactful as you think. So Leanne, do you want to take this one as to how exercise can impact calorie deficit? Maybe the types of exercise that burn more calories and actually maybe why we shouldn't look at exercise as a calorie burning tool because of that?
Yeah, of course. So obviously exercise, planned exercise. So whether that's kind of going for a run, strength training in the gym, it is the movement that you're deliberately doing on a daily basis, or not on a daily basis in some cases. Obviously some forms of exercise do burn more calories than others, but some burn calories for longer, dependent on what you're doing.
And why do you think it's important that we don't look at exercise as a way to burn calories? It does burn calories, but when you look at it purely as a tool to burn calories, like, what do you think the negative impacts are if you're just looking at it that way?
That not all activity levels are equal in how many calories that they do burn. So if you're looking to burn a certain amount of calories by running, you could have to run for hours at a time, which obviously is not worth it.
It's like, have you ever seen those things? It's like, if you want to burn off this burger, you're going to have to be on the treadmill for like 4 hours or something along those lines. And basically what you're saying there is you don't actually tend to burn as many calories as you'd like to think or hope necessarily in an exercise session, unless you are doing something like triathlon training or something, which I don't think many of the people we work with do. So it does burn calories. Like I said, things maybe that get your heart rate elevated more tend to burn more calories. But when you see it just purely as that, it's either very frustrating because you're like, I've done this workout and I've burnt like 200 calories. That's annoying. But it's a very unhealthy relationship as well. Because if you're just looking at it like that, there's never going to be, you're never going to be satisfied. It's like, well, I want to do more. And that's when you can get down a slippery slope and you don't enjoy it. All you're looking at is your Fitbit going, calories per burn.
Yeah.
And it's just it's such a negative thing.
And it's not accurate.
And it's not accurate. Yeah, that's a whole debate for another day. It's not. So we will give you planned exercise in your program, but it's more for health, mentally and physically, and potentially based on aesthetic goals and health-based goals contributing to that. So like strength training will help with muscle building. So we don't really want you to actually look at exercise as a big contribution towards your fat loss, but look at it more as a contribution towards your health, well-being and aesthetics. And then the final thing is the thermic effect of food, which sounds a lot fancier than it is. And it's basically the idea that when you eat food, it requires calories to digest and break down that food, but not all food is equal in terms of the calories required to break down and digest it. And protein has the highest effect, which means you only actually absorb 70% of the calories that you intake from protein. 30% is required to break it down and digest, which is why having a higher protein target and why we will likely set you protein targets is really beneficial, because it just makes fat loss easier, as well as the fact that protein is a lot more satiating than carbs and fats. So that is calories in and calories out explained.